In this final lesson about Photoshop, we're going to see how we can export and continue our work in different fields and using different formats when we are exporting. So in the previous lesson, we saw how we can create an animation using the timeline. So how we can apply some effects and make them animated using the workspace here, motion graphics. So we can switch in here and we can work with the timeline, we can work with text, we can work with raster images, shapes, vector graphics, and we can work with text, we can work with the videos, audio file, video file, and also we can create like sequences of images like photo presentation and slides and so on. So we can do a lot of things with this timeline in Photoshop. If you're interested like in basic video montage and video animation effects, this will be enough. But if you want to do more, I'm gonna show you some other tools you can use and also give you some suggestions. So we have another way we can render and we can use the animation in Photoshop, and that is with the keyframe. So frame animation, frame by frame. This is using timeline, and it's probably the best way we can use animation. But let's have a look also to the other type of animations. Gonna go to File, New, and I want to create like a simple grid here, 1000 times 1000. I want to make it 72 pixel per inch to make it not so heavy, and so we can work with the animation right here. Now with this, you probably can create, instead of creating a video, you can create something simpler like a GIF, an animated GIF that you can use in a website or in an app. So these are like small animation that can be used like for a logo or a banner or things like that. So let's make it really simple. So I'm gonna create an animation here. Instead of using the timeline, I'm gonna use the frame animation. So you can do like this, or you can always switch from one and the other by clicking on this little button right here. So we have now an empty frame at the moment. It's not really empty because we already have a background. So you can also unlock the background if you want. But again, I'm just going to do something really simple. So what I'm going to do is just create a new layer. And the more layer you create, the more variation you can give to this. So let's say I want to create like 2 layers. So let's go with the first one, and I'm going to create something really simple again, like a brush. So I'm gonna use a brush and it's gonna be black. So let's call this like 1. And this is, you see, in the layer 1. And then in layer 2, I wanna type like 2. And then we have this like 3 different states. Or we can call these also like 3 different keyframes. So if you look for in between keyframes, you can understand what's the concept of tweening or tween animation. So basically you create keyframes and then the software will generate the rest of the frame for you. So it's kind of a like automated process, kind of automatic. So you don't need to go like one by one. Now the classic methods, the classic technique in the old days was this one here. You need to like paint each single frame to get the final animation. Now we talked about in the previous video about frame per second, so the frame rate, meaning that if I have like 30 frames per second, I need 30 different images to represent 1 second of animation. And this is how it was done in the past. Now we have some advanced tools. This is not actually the most advanced that you can find in Photoshop. Probably you need to switch like in After Effects if you want like more advanced animation and tweening and all that stuff. But just to show you what is gonna be here in Photoshop. So if I select now the timeline and I create another keyframe, and in this keyframe right here, I want to activate the layer 1. So now you see I have like the first keyframe and then the second keyframe. Now to have the in-between frames in there, I can click down here. You see we have these tweens animation frames or tween. So I'm just gonna click here and it's gonna ask me to tween with in this case, the previous frame. Otherwise, I would do the opposite if I started from the other frame. And then I need to define how many frames I want to add. So let's say like 24. So it means I'm creating about 1 second of animation. I will show you later. I can change the FPS and you can like reinterpret the footage in a way. And then you can select if you want all layers, select the layers, and then what you want to animate. If it is position, or if it is opacity, or if there are effects that you want to animate. We saw similar things in the previous video. So then you can decide which one is better for you. But in my opinion, I think it works better, the timeline. So I'm gonna go with OK, and you can see it created these 24 frames going from the first one. So if I press play, I can see the animation, which is kind of a opacity animation. So I can see the one fading in, and that's basically it. And if I want to continue, then I click on plus and then choose like the other one. And then again, I'm gonna go to tweens and do tween with the previous frame, and let's do another 24. So now we have about 2 seconds of animation. I can move with this scroll bar, and then I can press play, and I can see the whole animation, or I can click here, click and go frame by frame. You can see here it's kind of cross fading, and then it's restarting all over. So that's basically how it's gonna be. But if you want to know more about this, you can go for it. But again, in my opinion, I think we have better uh, tools and features in After Effects. So now let's talk about exporting. This lesson is mostly about exporting our work, continue our work in other software, or like expand the possibilities in Photoshop. Now this is going a bit slow, so what I'm gonna do is decrease. Oh, that's already 25% resolution, so I cannot go lower than that. And so if I want to export an animation like this, is probably to export a video, because this is kind of long. It's 1 minute 30, and it contains a lot of uh, images and videos and effects that I don't want to like compress in terms of quality. So to export everything, I can click down here with this little arrow, and it's going to open up an export panel, or I can go to File, Export. This is kind of the export section where you can export, and you can decide if you want to export like a single frame, or if you want to export the entire video. So if you want to do that, you're going to go to Render Video, and you choose here some options. So let's go for one by one. The first thing is the name. That's the name you want to give, and that's the extension, which is MP4. And then you select the folder. In my case, I created a specific folder which I called export. So I'm going to export everything in there. And then you can also create a subfolder. Decide if you want to use the Adobe Media Encoder to create a video, or also you can generate a sequence of image. Now, image sequences can be then like mounted together. You can do a montage with those images in After Effects or Premiere Pro. So they're going to interpret those sequences of images into video footage. And then you can choose the format if you want to use BMP or JPEG or PNG or TIFF or Photoshop. So instead of like producing a single video, you produce a series of images. Now in that case, I'm going to use a single video. And then you have format. You can use QuickTime. You can use H.264. This is the most popular, so I'm going to go for this. And then you have like a series of presets. And these are really handy because you can choose like the HD or the full HD, or you can use the PAL or NTSC and Vimeo, YouTube, Apple, Android, and so on. So you have a lot of to choose from. I can choose like YouTube, for example, and you see this is 30 frames, almost 30 frames per second. Now that's the format that we used, because we can see down here we are using 30 frames per second. But I can change that. I can make it like 24 frames per second. So that's gonna change the frame rate from 30 to 24, which means it's gonna be less like fluid and a little bit more also lighter and less heavy than the 30 frame per second, but it's gonna have to reinterpret the footage. So I'm gonna leave it like this. This is gonna be like the best option. And we have similar settings also again in Premiere Pro and After Effects. And then, well, other parameters here that, for example, you can use all frames, the start frame and the end frame, or the work area, which is now going from here to, so this is the limit of the work area. So you can, let me show you here. You can make it like smaller. So I can say, okay, I don't want to render everything. Just want to render this small portion. So you can use an interval like this. This is going to be your work area. And that's the only thing that will be rendered. Or you can render everything. It's up to you. So you choose here if you want to do all frames or define a starting frame and an ending frame or the work area. And that's it. And click render and just wait. And this is for the video. Now, when you need to render like GIFs, which are like smaller animations, well, you can do with File, Export, and again, if you want to export single frame, you can go here, like also Quick Export or Export As. Otherwise, you go here, Save for the Web. This is where you can choose the format. So you can see also, you can see the optimized image, the original image, or you can see both using these two panels. So this is the original right here. You can see the size, and then this is the GIF, and you can like change some presets. So it could be like with more quality if you use more colors, or you can like decrease the number of colors, have less quality, but then it's gonna be lighter. And that's not gonna show too much in here, but it's definitely gonna show if you use a picture instead of like simple number here, simple stroke. And then you have like again JPEG, you have PNG, you have also like web formats. But for the animation, we need to go for the GIF. To create an animated GIF, we're gonna go to the GIF and let's make this like small. And then you change here like the type of colors, if you want restrictive colors, adaptive colors, perceptual colors, and then you can add dithering, which is, well, just see if the image is going to increase or decrease. Usually these are all settings to decrease the heaviness of your image. And then you can change the size. You can work like export only 50% of the original size. You can choose the quality. So basically you can always check the before and after, and then when you're ready, you just save, and you can choose if you want like HTML and image or just the image, the GIF, and that's it. So you just need to save and just wait for the thing to be rendered. And let's go see some results. So I'm going to jump into my export folder. This is the GIF right here. And to see a GIF, you can either like create the GIF or you can like create an entire HTML page where the GIF is going to be shown. And you can see for this one here, let me just reload it. There you go. This is a simple animation, but it's kind of really simplified and really low quality because it needs to run on a web page. And that's the GIF here. So let's try to open it up like with well, I don't really know which. Yeah, you can just double click and it's gonna show with the Windows player. So, and otherwise you can export HTML plus the GIF image inside and also get that's gonna work. We can try to open this with the browser. And that's the animation here, just a small portion. So you see like how the styles are changing. This is the one that we set up in the previous lesson, and then it changes, and you have like fade in, fade out effects, and then we have the fading of the video on the background, which should appear at any moment. That's the 3D layer also, and there is the video there on the background. So everything we prepared so far in the previous lesson, there it is. So that's the final output. And that's VLC, by the way. It's open source software for video playback. So I'm just gonna like close this and well, you can also export 3D. So if I want to export 3D, also gonna close this as well. Let me go here on some 3D graphics. You can use the 3D menu. So if I go here and select the layer I want to export, so it's gonna be this logo. I go to 3D and then export 3D layer. So 3D layer is not an image, it's an actual like mesh that I can use. And this one here is pretty versatile and popular. It's called GLTF or GLB, or you can use STL for 3D printing. You can use OBJ or DAE. So let's go for GLB. So I'm gonna export, say okay, and you can also export the texture, which is the material. And I'm gonna show you how you can check it out in Blender. So I'm gonna close this and I'm going to open Blender. Now Blender is only an option for 3D modeling and 3D rendering. There are other software out there, but this is open source, so you can download it, install it real quick. Just gonna delete this cube here. And if you're interested in Blender and all these other software, you can check them out in the channel, in the YouTube channel. So I'm gonna go to import. This is in Italian, but it's really easy. So file, import, and then GLTF, GLB. Go inside my folder here, my export folder. That's the file that I just exported. And there you go. That's the 3D ready to be used now in Blender and in a 3D environment. And I can also check the material. If I go here, up here on the third sphere, there you go. That's the material we generated in Photoshop. And you can also like go back in Photoshop from here if you want. So that's if you want to proceed with the 3D. Then we also talk about vector graphics. Now, if you want to continue with vector graphics with a more advanced tool, well, if you right click, you can copy the SVG, which is scalable vector graphics. And you can use also Adobe Illustrator. So if you go to File, Export, and go to Paths to Illustrator, you can convert the path into, well, any path that you select here or all paths in an Adobe Illustrator file. So you can save these, like export, and let's export like vector graphics. And you can see Adobe Illustrator AI is right here. So if I save this, I can then open it up in Illustrator. I can continue with that. Or also you can use Inkscape. It's another software for vector graphics. Now, either if we worked with the vector or raster graphics, we can still export uh, everything in JPEG, so in raster graphics. So if this is a vector graphic here, but if I want to export it not as a vector graphic, but as a simple image, I can go to File, Export, and I can do quick export as PNG. And we already did this in another situation, so you can do it from here, or you can just right click here and export as PNG right here. So it's not gonna have the background essentially, or you can do like export as, and we are in this panel here where we can choose the format. Now it's loading the image, so let's give it, there you go. So that's the image, and we can choose if you want to export these. We can change the size, we can change the suffix. We have the possibility to export with PNG, with the transparent layer on the background, or without the transparency. So that's going to make it like white. Now, if we select 7 up, we can see different options. And so we can use it, we can use transparency or not. Now, if we export as JPEG, we will not have transparency. So we will not have a transparent background. We can also change the quality. We can make it like less heavy. And here we find the differences. So this is 34, this is 13. Then we can change the width, the height. We can scale everything like to 50% perhaps. So now you can see this is like smaller than this other one. And we can add metadata like copyright, contact info, and other things here. So the more we decrease the quality, the more we compress, the more we're gonna get like artifacts from the file compression. Remember that the best quality is going to be with the raw image, which usually it's a setting that you can do in your camera or in your smartphone. And these are like the three most popular formats: PNG, JPEG, GIF. Or we can go to File, Export, and use. Also, you can go in the Export Preferences. That's going to bring you back to the Preferences panel, where you can set up like the quick export format, which right now is in PNG with the transparency. So we can change that if you want. Or we can export and optimize for the web, which is the one we use for GIF file, for the GIF animation. But you can also use it here if you want, again, to compare. So this is 2up. You can also compare like 4 different ways. So that's the original right here, original with the megabyte. And then we can change here and make it like GIF, like GIF node editor. But this is a simple image, so it's not a picture. Let me show you here with something more complex than this. I'm just gonna close this, go and open up a picture here of sunset. So file, export, save for web, and let's make some. And this is taking more because this is 4K. And there you go. So this is the original right here. Let's zoom a little bit so we can see a little bit better. Okay, so we have like, you know, different, you see, this is the original, and that's GIF with, let's make like 32 deterred. There you go. And then here you can play around, like decrease the dithering, increase the dithering, and see how it affects like the file size and also the quality. So if I increase it, you see it's gonna have this effect. And then you have like web snap if you want to snap to web colors. And this is something that we used to do like in the past when we have like problems with the internet connection. It was too slow or things like that. So we need to like optimize the images a lot, kind of something that we don't do too much right now. And then you have a PNG. And again, you can decide if you want transparency or not have transparency. So basically you can just, you know, go here and define different settings and compare them. And once you're ready, you select the one you like the most, and then you just save and, you know, export this image. Again, image only or HTML and image. In this case, it's just gonna be the image, and you can call this like test one, and that's it. And save it. So that's gonna be another GIF. And well, that's pretty much it about the image format. So raster graphics, we saw vector graphics, we saw 3D, we saw animation, we saw video. So that's basically uh, more or less everything you can do. You can also print, of course. You can export as a print, so a PDF, or you can just print if you have a printer. And if you have like many layers, you can export the layers to PDF or layers to different files. So for each layer, you can create a different file, or you can use the artboards and create different files or a PDF. We saw this previously. So we saw also some of this during the video course, so in other lessons. Now that you have become more expert, I want to show you another couple of suggestions. So if we go to edit and go to the menus here, we can define our own menus. So let's say that we understood that we don't really work with 3D or like animation or other things that are right here. Well, you can like change the Photoshop default menu into something more customized. So if I go like to file and say perhaps I don't want to use the close all feature or the revert or wherever, you know, or if you go in the 3D here and I don't want to use like 3D. Now you can either like underline, so you can make something more visible, like for example, new 3D layer from file, or we can like take off something that we don't really use, like spherical panorama and all the other features. So if I do this and say okay, if I go here, you see this is going to be underlined and the other has disappeared. So basically you can manage the menus from here. And you can always go back to Photoshop defaults anytime. You can also save your own set by clicking here and also retrieve a, menu set from a file. So this is about customizing the menus. You can also customize the keyboard shortcuts. This is also really important, because if you notice that you do like the same action all over again, you use always the same commands, well, you probably want to memorize the shortcut keys, or you can also create your own. So for example, if I repeat an operation like 100 times in a day, well, it's better to have a shortcut key rather than go always in the menu and launch that command from there. So it's a way to optimize, to speed up your work and to be more effective and more uh, you know stronger and better in your work. So let's say I want to change here from this shortcut key. I can just underline it and just type the keys that I want to use. I can also delete here. So if I click here and delete the shortcut, you can see now it's deleted. And also you can save your own preset. So we can call this like JVD keyboards shortcuts. There you go. Or I can always retrieve the defaults. Now, if I delete one, if I want to add it again, I can click and then type like just Control N in my case, and that's it. It's gonna apply it again. You can do accept, you can undo, and you can add another shortcut in the same command, and that's basically it. So you can customize also this to be quicker and faster and better. Now, let me go back to the essential workspace. And another really interesting feature in Photoshop are to automate and to be quicker, faster, and better is to go to to file and use the automate features. So you already have some of these. You can like crop and straighten photos, do lens correction and other stuff, or you can do batch. So when you do batch, you have some default actions you can use. For example, you can do vignetting. Vignetting, well, if you want to see what these are about, let me just close this and I'm going to open in the window, I'm going to search for actions. So it's right here. I'm going to open the actions panel, and this is where you can use the actions that are already there, or you can create your own. For example, if I want to use vignetting, I can select this action and press play. And well, this command is not available, but that's okay. Let's do okay. And well, nothing happened actually. So let's try with another one. So let's try with so it depends on what you're using. Let me see, maybe I need to unlock the background. So let's try that again. And you can see for each action you have like a set of commands. So let's press play. Well, it's not available. I don't know why. Maybe it's an old action. So let's try with another one. Let's try with like quadrant colors. Press play. And there you go. So you see, it just applied this to this image. So if I want to apply the same thing like for 100 images, I can use the batch. So before going back into the batch, let's create our customized action. So I'm going to go back. You can see this is like a series of steps. So let me just go back. So these are all the action, the commands that it has applied to the image. So first it converted to black and white, and then it changed the curves to various parts of the image. Now I'm going to create a new one, so I'm going to click plus. You can also create a new set by clicking on the folder. So let's call these custom actions, custom action. And that's going to go in the default action set. And we can type a function key and a color, but let's just record. Now, once I am in record mode, anything I do will be recorded in that custom action. So let's say that, for example, I want to change the size here. So I'm going to go to image size, and make this like smaller. So let's make this 1000 pixels, and let's say okay. So this is going to be the first command that it will be memorized in my action. There you go. So image size. I need to zoom a little bit to see a little bit better. And then maybe I want to use, like, let's say I want to use some adjustment, like let's see here, some photo filter. So I want to apply like a cold filter or a hot filter. Let's change here again. Instead of warming, let's go like deep blue, and let's see what's gonna happen here. There you go. So deep blue filter, and okay, and that's another one. And then I can move forward. I can apply whatever, like filter or resizing or gradient map. Let's try here with something else. So let's go like violet, or you know. And these are all have been applied right now. So probably I don't want all those. So I can select like these and just delete them once I finish. So let's stop now, and I'm gonna select these and delete those. So delete the selection. And well, this is gonna be basically the result. Once you have your action, you can go back to File, Automate, Batch, and then you can select your own. So this is another one I created, and you can do like as many as you want. And then you can choose a folder, or you can choose the open files that you have in Photoshop. So if you go in a folder, you choose a folder, for example, the folder where you store like pictures that you want to change, and be careful because that's going to resize all of them. So you're going to lose the original quality for all of them. So be careful not to save and close, but instead choose another folder. So just create another folder for the batch, and then you can run the batch. So just type, let me use a custom action. You can use document name, and then you can type like serial number. You can insert an extension, and then other stuff that you find here. And once you're ready, you say okay, and that's gonna quickly, go over all these images, and it's just gonna change them, and it's gonna apply the same action like to all of them, like if there were 2000 images. And also I forgot to add a saving action inside my action, so now I need to go and save one by one. But you get the idea. So this is kind of to speed up your process when you need to do like a lot of images, and you don't have time to go one by one and apply all the same effects all over again. Just do it once, and that's it. Sit back and relax. I'm gonna go back in my export folder, and there you go. This is the batch edit so far. So we have all the different images with this style applied, and also with the same size. So really handy feature in Photoshop. So I'm just gonna close everything. We arrived to the end of the course. So just to leave you with some suggestions, if you want to continue with vector graphics, you can go in Illustrator or open source alternative Inkscape. If you want to move forward for video effects and animation, I suggest Adobe After Effects or Premiere Pro. And also here you have like open source option like Natron, or you can continue with software like Substance 3D in Adobe to do the 3D, or you can go in Blender, open source, or you can use Cinema 4D, or 3ds Studio Max and Maya for the 3D, or ZBrush if you want to do sculpting and character design. And also if you want to extend Photoshop functionalities and tools, you can use plugins. So if you search for Photoshop plugins, you go down here, you can go and check what are the like other plugins you can use, or you can find like a lot of website that give plugins. Some of them are for free, some of them, well, you need to pay for them. And this is the image where there is like a list of a lot of plugins right here to do a lot of different things. And so it's inside the Adobe help. So if I go here, for example, this is one of the plugins. It's called Engraver. So if I open up this link, it's going to bring me here, and that's the plugin. So it's going to change your image into this like old picture engraving. So really cool. but to have this you need to buy it, so this is not for free. But once you buy it, you download it, just click install and it's gonna be installed in your Photoshop. And also usually you find a manual somewhere, like there you go, there it is. And in the manual it's gonna show you how to install it, like this, all the wizard, and also where you find like the 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 plugin, which could be like a filter, could be an editing tool, could be a menu or whatever. So everything is going to be there in the plugin manual. So this will be all for this video course. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, please subscribe to the channel, stay updated for other courses and guides that we publish about graphic design, video animation, 3D design, and much more. So also subscribe and also join the channel if you want to thank us, if you want to support us. And that's all. So thanks for watching. See you in the next video course.